this type of video is typically not what we do at Shop Tool Reviews, but it's more of an impromptu because Keith's a friend of mine that I'll just kind of start the journey here. That a couple months ago, Keith, you reached out to me and said, hey, what's the best backpack blower to get? You know, and so my first question to Keith was, well, why do you want a backpack blower? And I figured this is where it was going because you did some lawn care back in the teenage days a few years ago. And the biggest and baddest thing, it would be a backpack blower. But at the same time, handheld blowers were a little bit lackluster, right? And you had a battery-powered handheld blower.
Yep.
Did it fit your needs?
No, and that's what prompted my call to you, is trying to figure out, knowing what you know about this industry, I wanted to find out what is it that would best fit what I do for my own home. I don't do multiple yards, but I have a big yard, and the battery blower that I had just really didn't do that well. So I figured I'd start by asking you to get understanding of what's out there.
Right.
And the first thing I thought of was the backpack blower, because I have a gas backpack blower, but I don't use it as often because it's just cumbersome to bring in and out, whereas an electric blower was so much easier for me to have easy access to. So I came to you trying to find out more understanding.
Exactly. So I brought over the Ego 650 CFM, which is really not even their top of the line, to be honest. But still, and just said, hey, try this out, and what'd you think?
I was blown away of the power that it had in comparison to the existing handheld blower that I had, electric blower, and then also the gas blower. It was very, very comparable in what it would accomplish. And like I said, when the leaves are falling, this thing works so well with just coming out, grabbing the thing, blowing, you know, the lawn, the sidewalk, and it's super easy, super fast, good battery life on it. So I've been very, very pleased using this.
Yeah, in fact, I think I saw you one day and you're like, man, I'm using this thing all the time.
Yeah, oh yeah, I was ended up blowing leaves in the grass trying to get them into the flower bed because I was like, this thing just really does a great job.
Yeah, it's handy when it works, you know, when a blower works correctly and it's handy, then you find more uses for it.
Yep.
And you know, as you say, it's light, it's handy, you can, you know, throw it up on the shelf. You don't have to worry about gas, oil, things like that. Anyway, so long intro into the mower here. So from that, then you reached out and was like, man, you know what? I really need something, not so much to cut the yard, which that might change, but you have a riding mower, but it doesn't pick up your leaves. And here in Florida, a couple times a year when the oaks decide to drop their leaves, it's not a small gathering of leaves.
Yeah, and you can see we have multiple live oaks behind us, as well as some over the other front part of the lawn, but I have a lot of leaves that accumulate in this area, and so using the riding mower becomes a little bit cumbersome of kind of backing up and mulching and just trying to grind them up as much as possible. So again, I came to Tim and said, I really would love to find an EV mower that I could you know, use to pick up these leaves and transport them into a bag or put them in the back of the property or whatever. And so again, Tim had another solution that he thought would fit my need.
Yeah, and so you literally, we got this thing out of the truck and nothing else. You hadn't touched this thing other than pushing it over here and just kind of maybe familiarizing yourself. So we're just going to follow him around and see what he thinks about this thing. This is the LM2110SP. It is a self-propelled mower. Has the 6 amp hour, 56 volt battery on it, 21-inch cut. So we're going to bag this thing up or throw the bagger on it, which it has on it. Which you also have mulching and side discharge as well. But anyway, we're just going to kind of follow him around, maybe get some thoughts from him, and then afterwards just kind of do an accumulation of overall thoughts on this thing. And so let's get started. Okay.
Yeah, the one thing I noticed, Tim, quick on this is that I'm 6'7", and the height of this handle is probably one of the higher handles I've ever had on a walk-in mower. So that, first of all, that's really great for my back and the stress level of, you know, using a mower when you're walking behind it. Probably another thing I noticed too is pretty good leg room underneath here where I'm walking. I'm not kicking the bag and you know, creating that discomfort of trying to stay out of the way of the bag. One thing I might do real quick if you want is I'll try to use the mulcher and the side thing just to kind of get a feel for it real quick if you want me to.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
So we're going to quickly just swap out the bagger and throw on either the side discharge or the mulcher.
Let's see, let's try the mulcher first.
Okay, that's the mulcher plug.
I think it goes in this way if I'm not.
Yep, that's exactly right. And then the flap's just going to hold that down.
That was super easy. Yeah, that works good. I'll tell you another thing that's pretty kind of remarkable about them is they're quieter than I expected in the sense that I don't, I usually always wear earplugs when I'm using a gas-powered mower, and out here you don't feel like you really have to even use the, earplug. I mean, obviously if you want to have some extra safety, you can wear them, but it's just not very loud, so it doesn't feel like it's.
So now you can get out here at 6:30 and your
your
neighbors won't care.
You can come out here and just start cracking on, right? So no, that's good.
So now we're going to change out from the mulching plug to the side discharge. See if you can figure this out.
Yeah, it slides in that little groove, put that in there, rest that on there, and I think we're a go. One other thing I like about it, Tim, is when you're not in self-propelled mode, it's very easy to shift forward and backwards for me. The lightweightness of it makes it very versatile, I think, where I felt like I could really maneuver around where I didn't have to use the self-propelled in tighter quarters, so made it a lot easier to manage as well. So I like that feature as well.
Got some leaves and grass in there.
Yeah, got a combination. They're both leaves and grass. And come over here and dump it in the pile. Just like that. Turn it into a mulch pile. Ready to go again.
Okay, so this is after several minutes of using this. I don't know, probably a half hour or so. By no means are we calling this a full-fledged review. And I think maybe what we'll do, Keith, is maybe follow up with you in a couple of months after we start getting some rain here in Florida. The grass gets all full and it really becomes a real mowing job, as well as being able to bag things. But as far as right now, just kind of getting your initial assessment on this, what are your thoughts on using a battery-powered, push mower, specifically the Ego?
Yeah, so very impressed with the ease of use, the lightness, the efficiency of it. Like I think Tim mentioned, we're in some pretty not high grass. Everything's kind of in an easy mode right now because of the season we're in. But I would say that everything worked just as well as I would have with a gas-powered mower. We've got that folded up here, which looks like a great way to be able to store it in my shed and keep it kind of out of the way, and don't have to worry about oil or gas and things leaking. So I love that idea, the aspect of the electric mower.
Yeah. And sorry to stop you there, but you mentioned about having a gas-powered vacuum, like a leaf vacuum, I'm assuming, a mulching vacuum.
Yeah.
Aside from it not wanting to start right now, I'm sure that takes up a larger footprint than like this.
It does. I'll be immediately, figuring out how to replace that and put that in a lot smaller spot. But I've got to get that out of the way and put that in. So yeah, you're right. It's definitely a lot smaller footprint.
And that's one of the nice things of going to a battery-powered mower like the Ego is the fact, you can fold this thing up and stand it in a corner or in a closet if you needed to, and you're not worried about gas or oil or the smell or anything like that, as well as the smaller compact footprint.
Yep. Yeah, we could definitely, if you want to come back and try and check it out when we get a little bit, more of our Florida climate and rain and high grass, I'll be more than happy to give you guys a second look at it. But so far, everything, the conditions that I have now with the grass and the leaves that we have, it did exactly what I was hoping for it to accomplish, for the reason I had called Tim in the first place.
Yeah, and Keith, honestly, it didn't really come into mind to be a concern of mine of being how tall you are. Of course, I know how tall you are, but it was interesting that you picked that up. That was the first thing you did when you grabbed it, because I think you were like, okay, here we go.
Yeah,
I'm going to be leaned over.
Totally. I'm impressed with how high they accommodated for someone of my height, because that's not typically the norm, and it definitely fits me perfect at 6'7".
Now, what about your stride at pushing a self-propelled mower? Did you feel like you could still stride with it decently?
I felt like I got shortened a little bit as the bag seemed to get more full. I could feel a little bit more of that weight underneath me as I would step into it. So I wouldn't say it was never necessarily cumbersome, but I could tell that I had to adjust my stride just a little bit.
Now, was that because your foot was hitting the full bag, or was that because the speed was slowing down?
I think it was because I was hitting the full bag.
Okay. So your foot running into the bag.
Yeah.
But again, you're a much longer stride than an average person.
Right.
But I've noticed that from time to time as well on other mowers.
The speed of it works great. I mean, I thought the pace that I mow at and so forth, it was perfect for my stride, and I had it at full speed.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a good pace. It's just, I think as the bag got more and more full, I could feel that bag sitting lower to the ground to where my stride was starting to kind of tap it. It wasn't annoying. It was just I would shorten my stride a little bit.
Something you'd notice. Yeah. So any issues that you think off the bat with anything?
No, not at all. I mean, I guess the biggest thing is the weight difference of these versus a gas mower. I'm assuming all that's they've built them to where they feel like they're safe and they've got what they need from a reliability standpoint from the body of them, but it's just a different feel to have such a lighter mower when you're so used to such a heavy metal that you feel like that's kind of like your protection when you're mowing, whereas this seems to be such a lighter feature but still effective and not it doesn't feel like it's making it unsafe. It just feels totally different. And
then you mentioned earlier that you like the fact that you're not having to wear earplugs or listen to that.
Yeah, the sound was completely different. Like with a lawnmower, I'm always wearing earplugs. It comes recommended to wear them if you just for the sake of your hearing. But this is a much quieter mower, so you don't really have to wear one if you don't need to, if you don't want to. But that was a big difference I could tell in the as well.
And the cool thing, and I noticed, when you would stop and talk to me, you just kind of let go of the handle, but you never had to start anything back up, right?
Yeah,
push a button versus
push the button,
going and pulling a string or anything like that.
Instant energy and not a lot of extra, is it a hot mower and you can't start it again because it's, you got to let it sit and cool down. I mean, with all the different things that you sometimes are used to from a mower that may have age to it or so forth.
Right.
This thing was ready to go when you were ready to go.
Yeah, and that's one thing I really like about a hand blower as well. Versus like a backpack, your neighbor comes, starts to talk to you, you shut it off. Now you got to take it off, start it back up.
Yes, very much so. My other backpack blower, it's kind of like you got to take it off and re-crank it. Whereas this is, it's ready when you are, and you're not losing energy, you're not losing, that battery time or anything when you shut it off. So yeah, it's good point.
Yeah, so we're going to wrap this up. So be sure to check out. This is the Ego self-propelled mower. Specifically, it's the LM2110SP. You can find it, I believe, at Lowe's for like $549. 5-year warranty on that. Comes with a 6 amp hour, 56 volt battery and charger as well. Be sure to keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and even TikTok. And by all means, if you haven't done so already, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you hated our video, well, you can hit that thumbs down, but let us know in the comments why. Have a great day and keep smiling.